Welcome back to the Lightforge podcast or YouTube or I don't know if you're watching live on Twitch. We are doing the card reviews, or I'm just doing it. It's just me. It's Adwicta. Merps is gone with the baby, and we are going through. We have done A tier cards. We have done B tier cards. Now we're doing C tier cards. This is all the neutrals. So there's actually a lot of C plus tier cards, and if you guys want to remember what C tier cards mean in our rating system, C is above Yeti. C plus is like significantly above Yeti, but not good yet. B is the line of which cards are like average in your deck. So these are all below average cards in your deck, but above average cards of what you'll get offered, right? Because you get offered three cards, you only pick one, and they're usually the better cards. So let's start with the C plus tier cards. These are the kind of the next up. But remember, these are all below average cards in your deck. The first one is Audiomedic. 2 mana, 2/3, Rush. Finale, gain lifesteal. If you showed me this card like many years ago, I would have been like, holy crap, this is insane. It's like a croc that rushes and could potentially get lifesteal as a bonus. These days, it is what it is, right? This is what a 2-drop should be. Yeah, not much to really say about this. Next up is going to be another C plus card, Party Animal. These are all common neutrals so far. 2 mana, 2/3 Beast. Battlecry. Give +1/+1 to a minion of each type in your hand. Again, craziness because you do this and then you can play a 3-drop that's now overcurved. Insane back in the day. Now, I mean, how many are you really going to hit? One, maybe two cards in your hand? How long is it going to take until you can play those cards? Will the +1/+1 even matter at that point? You know, even if you do hit that lucky, like, 3-drop that has a tag to it that this buffs, it's now like a Yeti. Whoop-de-doo, you played a 3-mana Yeti. Like, it's not the biggest thing. Now, still way better than a normal 2-drop, right? Like that's why it's a C plus, but it's not really the game changer it would have been back in the day. So that's Party Animal. And if you're wondering what percentage of cards in your what minions in your deck is going to actually have a tag, it's like less than half. There's a lot of untagged cards. Or sorry, less than half that are either untagged or repeating tags. Because it's if you have two beats, only one of them will get buffed, right? All right. Next up is Cowbell Soloist, another common card, 3 mana, 4/2. Battlecry. If you control no other minions, deal 2 damage. There's going to be quite a few soloists in this set, and the soloist ability just says if you control no other minions. So it's the only one on the board. So you got to trade your minions first, or just be behind on the board so you don't have any minions. Deal 2 damage and put 6 stats on the board for 3 mana. That's a Fireplume Phoenix. That's really good. Why is this not at the B level? Because you have to control no other minions, and because 4/2 is an awkward kind of like split. Um, when you control no other minions part makes it so that on curve you're usually not going to be able to actually play this card. It is you can't fully control whether your opponent plays a minion or not. You can't control if your 2/3 can actually kill itself. If they play a 2/3, for example, you may not want to make the trade in some other cases. And yeah, off once you start playing this card off curve, like the good part about Fireplume Phoenix is that it always works, right? And not Fireplume Phoenix isn't an amazing card these days anyway. I think it'll come in at like a B or something. So this limitation of the ability kind of knocks it down. It's a real limitation. Less so later on in the game, but on that on curve period when Fireplume Phoenix was really strong, this is not the same card. Okay. Next up is Outfit Tailor, another common card, 3 mana, 2/2. Battlecry, give a friendly minion attack and health equal to this minion's. So for the vast majority of times you play this in Arena, it's a 3 mana, 2/2 that also is attached to a +2/+2 buff, like to one of your minions. Is what it is. It's a C plus. It's fine. Um, If you can manage to buff this card in your hand, it gets way better, right? Like, not only does it get buffed, but its ability also gets buffed. But there's not that many hand buffing cards in the meta. And if you're thinking of a card like the party animal, this is one of the examples of a card that would be great if you could buff it in your hand and if it had a tag. And it doesn't have a tag. All right. Next up, we have our last C plus card, which is Festival Security. Festival Security is another 3-drop. This one's rare. 3 mana, 2/5 taunt. So already good. And then Finale, force all enemy minions to attack this. So it also potentially maybe has Rush. But it's like a RNG-ish kind of Rush, where you don't really control which minions attack in what order. That being said, it's a 3 mana, 2/5 taunt. That's good enough, like, for it to stand. The finale, like, you generally view it as a positive because it gives this card initiative, but it can also be a negative. Like, let's say your opponent has like a 5/5 on the board. You don't want to trigger the finale because then you just gave your opponent an extra attack. Now, when this is not on turn 3, you can use this like not as the finale. This is one of the finales that you may want to avoid. We've almost all the other finales that we've seen are like just pure positive finales. But for this finale, it's one where, let's say you have 5 mana, you have a 2-drop and a 3-drop to play, and one of the 3-drop is Festival Security. You may play the Festival Security first, so that you avoid this finale and you're not forcing all of your opponents to attack it. Because one way, in a positive situation, the finale essentially gives your card rush. But in a negative situation, it essentially gives all your opponent's minions an extra attack. So you get to control it a bit, which is nice. All right. So those are the C plus cards. Now we're moving on to the C tier cards. These are just like above a Yeti. Um, so those cards we just went over that were C plus are like almost the average card in your deck. These are a little bit off from that. Okay. First one we're going to talk about is Instrument Tech. For classes with a weapon, Instrument Tech, because Instrument Tech draws a weapon, is a 2 mana 1/2. Battlecry draws a weapon. If you have a weapon class, this is fine. This is about fair for what you would pay to draw your weapon. Weapons are generally really good. You want your weapons. You're kind of paying to do that, and this is not a curve card. Also, you could run out of weapons, right? And then this does nothing. It becomes really bad. So, moderate upside, also moderate downside. Next is Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone is a 2 mana 2/2 common elemental rush battle cry. If the last card you played costs 1 mana, gain +1/+1. So a 2 mana 2/2 rush is not good. That is not a good card in today's meta. That is pretty bad. So if you are playing it on turn 2, it's also not really on curve because it's only a 2 mana 2/2. But if you had played a 1-drop or any kind of 1 mana card the turn before that, it can also be done the same turn, but I'm just thinking about early in the game. Then it becomes a 3/3 rush. Then it's overcurved and it has rush, and it becomes really good. So it just depends on what kind of deck you have. Like, this is super, super, super deck dependent. So if you have a deck that has plenty of 1-mana cards, this could be really good, especially if you care about that tempo. If you don't, this is not that great. Also, looking at its upside, right? Later on in the game, it's still just at most a 3/3 rush, which is like pretty whatever in the late game these days. So if you're gonna like hold it for a combo, it's not really worth holding. Next is Obsessive Fan. Obsessive Fan. If you remember, Merps was talking about how much he liked the flavor of this card. It's a common card. It's a 4 mana 2/6 battle cry. Choose a minion. It has stealth while this is alive. So this can be used to give one of your minions stealth, which means, and like permanent stealth, which means nothing can attack it, nothing can remove it. Very powerful. And this card, the Obsessive Fan, it has 6 health too, so it'll take a while to knock it down. Now, you have to have a card to combo it with, though, right? Like, if you're just protecting, like, a 4/4 that's not really doing that much. Like, even if you're protecting something that could get pinged down, like, say, like, you've already made a trade and now it's a 4/1, like, yeah, it gets some value. But it's not, like, amazing value. On the other hand, if you do have a card that you really want to protect, having to put in a 6 health and a separate attack shield on top of it is super good. Like something with a regenerating ability. Maybe you put it on the pyrotechnician, right? Like there's combos and stuff that you could do with this that will make this much better than a C tier card. But you have to have those combos and you have to use them. The other way to use it is just to get through a taunt, because when you put something into stealth, it no longer has taunt. The downside of it not having taunt though is that it now has stealth, and you've given your opponent a permanently stealth minion that you can't remove, and it can like do whatever it wants with it, and you can't efficiently remove it until your Obsessive Fan is dead. But get through a taunt to kill a key minion that you absolutely need to, or get rid of the taunt part in order to deal lethal damage. There's a lot of uses for it. It's a very well designed, great card, really good flavor. Um, the problem is that it is very situational. Like we say that it's an anti taunt thing, but like if you just have an opponent that played a taunt minion, you don't just play an Obsessive Fan on it. That's buffing it. That's not like weakening the taunt minion. Usually minions would rather have stealth, permanent stealth, than taunt. So, and if you use it on one of your regular minions, it also doesn't do much. At 4 mana, 2/6s are like unplayable. So you really got to combo it, and its potential is pretty good. It's just a well-designed card. Uh, okay, so that is Obsessive Fan. Next up, we are going for what's the next card? Oh, Amplified Elic is our next card. This one is a common card. Common Beast, 10 mana, 6/12 with Taunt. At 10 mana, 6/12 with Taunt is super terrible. So, what is the ability? Death Rattle, deal 3 damage to all minions, all enemy minions. So, this is the really, really, really big version of that priest card that efficiently walls you off. I forget what the priest card name is, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And you've faced it before, and you've been annoyed by it, and it has gotten situationally super high value. So this is the same, except it's 10 mana, um, and that means it comes out way later. But it's also 6/12, which means whatever is hitting it is likely to be dead, right? Like, unless you have more than 9 health on your minion, it's going to be dead. Overall, as far as 10 mana minions go, it doesn't do enough. That's why it's rated at around where a Yeti is, like a little bit above a Yeti. But it is still a really, 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 really big card, and it does force you to deal with it, right? Like, you can't just, it's not like a 10 mana 12/12 where you put it down, your opponent ignores it, you die. Like, your opponent has to deal with it one way or the other. And even if they hard remove it, you've still dealt 3 damage to all of their stuff. So it is situational in usage. The fact that it is 10 mana really does hurt it a lot. But it's doing a lot of stuff too. Like there's a lot of stuff that's like attached to it. So I think it could be in I think in most decks that will exist in the upcoming meta, it'll be okay. Like definitely not an average card in your deck, but it will be like Yeti level. All right. Last card we're going to talk about in this episode, the last card that is in the C range is Audio Amplifier. Audio Amplifier. Now, if only we can find this card. It is a 2-mana card, and it is a epic card. It's a 2-mana 2/3 mech. Battle cry. Set your maximum mana and hand size to 11. Okay, the hand size to 11 probably won't matter that much, but your maximum mana to 11 means you get one more mana every turn. Um, and that is good because you get one more mana every turn. Now, it'd be nicer if you got one more mana on the earlier turns, but this only deals with your maximum mana. So you're not going to see the benefits no matter when you play this card until it turn 11 or above. But hey, a little bit of extra mana pushes this card above above a Yeti. All right, well that's it for the C tier cards. Again, there's just not much to talk about with a lot of these cards. When you get to the C tier, they usually do a very limited job, and they do it in only okay fashion. You're gonna see them over the meta because they're offered a lot, but they're not the game changers. Or if they are the game changers, they're game changing in the other way, like just as frequently. Okay, that's it for us. I want to give a shout out to Brand New, even though she has refused to give me a drink. In case you don't know, Brand New is now more than 8 months pregnant, and we are expecting our child at the end of the month. So she has been very helpful, very upbeat, and still like running around doing stuff. And just really appreciate everything that she's done, including making me this coffee right here that is keeping me alive. We'll see you in the next episode, and that is going to be the D tier and below cards. So now we're getting into the bad cards. D tier and belows are below Yeti. And these days, if you're below Yeti, better not be in my deck. Until then, this is Abwicta.